Don't sleep on us, says one Josh Hamrick, the design director for the upcoming hero shooter Concord, to a room of gamers that may as well be comatose. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you got Spark on the mic, and I have been taking some notes, so please do take a seat. Let's chat about it for a little bit. So, as I've already stated, Josh Hamrick here is the design director over at Firewalk Studios, right? And those are the guys who were working on Concord, a game that was shown off a few weeks back at the last State of Play that Sony had. And honestly, the game's been having a bit of a rough patch since then. And by rough patch, I'm gonna be entirely honest with y'all, this game's getting dog-walked by the game community. Nobody's really feeling it. I mean, some are. I've heard that the beta that they've had, some people have had some good things to say. Though, to be honest, for the most part, it seems like the numbers haven't really been there. At least on Steam. I think the peak was somewhere a little over 1,000, which, again, it's a beta, so there's only so much to be said for that. But as far as, what it indicates, might not be great. Especially given the fact that the game on Steam, the beta was only open to those who pre-ordered the game. And if there's only about 1,000 or so pre-orders, it's not looking good. Well, honestly, I'd like to talk a little bit about why I think that is. You see, I believe the Concord suffers from a bit of an aesthetic problem, right? We live in a world where attention spans are shrinking by the day, thanks to short-form content like TikTok, which is all over the place these days. And it really is so important to make a good first impression, and I just don't think Concord was able to do that. I mean, to be honest, it feels a little generic, right? A lot of people have been tossing around great value Guardians of the Galaxy, and up to a certain point, that is definitely true. In some cases, a little too true, right? I know boy Endymion found some comparisons can be made with Concord's Star Child, I believe this character is called, and some actual characters from the Guardians of the Galaxy video game. You might have noticed this is a little similar. This is quite a striking resemblance you might have noticed there. So that's definitely pretty valid, that comparison. But overall, I just feel like it's not really appealing to the wider gaming audience. And let me just be real for a minute here. We all know, gaming audience is mostly male. Right? And when it comes to males, honestly, it's pretty easy to get their attention. But with the whole DEI stuff that permeates this game, I can imagine it's a little hard to play to those strengths. But I would like to make some comparisons just so I can really, lock in my point here. And I'm going to be using a couple of games that have come out very recently that have been doing very, very well. Those would be The First Descendant and Zenless Zone Zero, both of which I've played, and are decent games, not anything terribly outstanding, nothing super special, nothing game-changing or anything, but they both have some really nice visual aesthetics that I think have definitely been carrying them a bit. At least for the most part. Halfway. Let's give it half. But yes, let me provide some examples here. So, first up, let's talk about Bunny. Chances are good you've seen this character around, especially that ultimate bunny. You know what I'm saying? If you know, you know. But you've seen this character around quite a bit. And honestly, the character design is very interesting. You got a neon, you got the form-fitting outfit. She's got a very fun personality in-game, and she's very fun to play. She's just got a lot of good stuff going on there design-wise, and it really falls in with the aesthetic of The First Descendant overall, right? Everybody just looks really nice, the armor designs are fantastic, and it's very eye-catching. It definitely gets you there. Now, if we were to talk about Zenless Zone Zero for a second, I know you've seen my girl Nicole. Especially if you've been on Twitter in the last, week or so since the game came out. There's been fan art of this character every damn day on my feed. Multiple times a day, honestly, for the most part. And that might also be just because I'm feeding an algorithm, but at the same time, I think you're probably going to see her if you're in any way in the gaming spaces, because she's everywhere. And I mean, can you even blame anybody? She got the cute face, the cute waist, she's got a fun design as well. You gotta dig the outfit. It's got a nice fit going on. It's just overall, it's got a nice flow to it. And again, the game itself kind of has the same thing all throughout it, just a nice flow, great designs, and it's got this fun, bubbly atmosphere. Now, if we were to talk about Concord for a second, well, I mean, come on, this image is pretty much infamous at this point, with the interesting tone of green for this kind of tank bodysuit that this chick is wearing, the blue lipstick, these weird little purple highlights here and there, and like, what is this little red flag? What is it? I don't know. The vibe is weird. The vibe is odd. It's a little off kilter. It's not really gonna have that mainline general appeal that you're really looking for, right? But here's the thing. Your game doesn't necessarily have to be sexy to get people's attention. Obviously, the other two games had the sexy all nailed down, but like, it is one of the things that dudes like. But hey, you know what else dudes like? The cool factor. The absolute cool factor. You know what's cool? Robots. So let's circle back to Zenless for a second. I want to talk about my boy Billy here. Now look at Billy. This guy's a robot. He's got a couple of guns, and his fit is immaculate. Like, if you're familiar with Trigun, this is essentially Vast the Stampede if you gave him like a Kamen Rider belt. A Robo Kamen Rider belt. It's perfect. It's so nice. Every part of it is just fantastic. Plus, he's got a pretty fun personality in-game as well. He's got that sort of Deadpool-ish thing going on, but it's not too overbearing, honestly. He's a good guy. He's got a great design. I dig it. I absolutely dig it. He's definitely one of the reasons I picked up the game in the first place. Now, if we were to circle back to Zenless Zone for a second, technically speaking, this one's not a robot, but he might as well be, because he's covered head to toe in that metal armor. This is Ajax, and he's your big, well, I wouldn't say generic, but he's very stereotypical tank build, right? He pops shields, he's very tanky, he's got a lot of health, he carries giant-ass weapons. That's kind of his whole deal, but he's fallen in that aesthetic perfectly. He's a big metal minotaur, and honestly, what's cooler than a big metal minotaur, right? It's not necessarily the freshest thing. You've probably seen a robo minotaur before somewhere, someplace, but he's got his own kind of aesthetic going on. It's eye-catching, it's recognizable, it's got good stuff going on. Now, if you're to talk about Concord again, well, meet one-off, right? It's very simple, which I suppose isn't a bad thing, but I mean, I'm gonna be real with you guys. This guy just he looks like one of those like Monsters Inc. Scream canisters with arms and legs and an eating disorder, I guess. But it's not hitting the same way that the other guys did, right? You got these cool robots over here, and you got this guy. It ain't working. It's not hitting. It's just the energy's not there. And honestly, this is kind of a problem that everyone in the roster of Concord has. A lot of the designs are either boring or just kind of atrocious, to be honest. And I can't really get the feeling for any of it. I mean, look at this girl right here. She looked like she's wearing like one of those old action figure boxes on her head, pretty much. I don't know what to say about all that. It is what it is. Now listen. I do want to preface all this, well, I guess not preface, but cap all this by saying that in the end, you can make whatever you want, right? That's what it means to be a creator. You go with what your heart's telling you to make, and that's not a bad thing all in all. But to be perfectly real for a second, it is a bit of a different flow when you're talking about a business, right? This game was put on the main stage for Sony, right? They're banking on this one. They gave this like a third of that state of play almost. So clearly they're trying to make this thing work, but I just don't think it's gonna hit that mainstream appeal with what it's got going on. Especially after that whole, weekend beta test that we just went through, and the numbers it brought back were kinda... I feel a little bad, honestly. I want these devs to be able to make what they want to make and be successful, but I mean, at the same time, you gotta remember what audience you're playing to, and you gotta play to that audience. It's just not gonna work otherwise. We've already seen plenty of, DEI-heavy projects bite the dust, and it seems like this one's probably gonna follow suit. Which, honestly, I'm a little sad about. To be honest, I can appreciate and compliment Concord for being the sort of game that was brave enough to just be its own thing, right? This is a completely new IP. It's got the DEI stuff going on, but it's not, it's not the Star Wars, it's not, the Lara Croft Tomb Raider, any of that. It's not like trying to bank off an already established franchise or any of that. But it's still not quite hitting that audience that they've been going for, right? That modern audience that the gaming industry seems to be so convinced actually exists, but it doesn't seem to be finding it. Now, the game does have another beta coming up, and apparently this one's going to be a more open one, no pre-orders necessary or any of that. So we'll see how it does, but honestly, I'm not really expecting much from it. I think this one's probably going to end up falling on its face, and that is unfortunate. But hey, when you're in a business and when you're playing to a certain audience, you gotta know what you're going for, and you gotta just hit your beats, or the record's gonna scratch. And it's nothing but record scratches for Concord right now, so we'll see what happens, but I'm not expecting much. Anyway, those are my notes on the matter, but perhaps you got some notes of your own, so please, by all means, hit up the comments, talk to me about it, and we'll see what we gotta see. But that'll be all for today. Hey, check out the podcast later on, and maybe I'll see you there. With that all said, until next time, take care of yourselves. Later.